Hey folks, Lee Jensen here. We're building our second header, the driver's side for the Lone Star 600 car. And on the first video I did, I didn't get near enough footage to have a good in-depth video. This one's the opposite. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna take a lot of time when I build the first header tube, and then we're gonna like bam, bam, bam through the second, third, and fourth one because that's all redundant. And then we'll catch up on some more stuff when I go to put the collector in. That's pretty important and things like that. So bear with me through the first tube and we'll kick butt through the next one. I wanted this to be about a 10-minute video and it obviously didn't get that way. Thanks for watching. There could be any number of reasons that you might want to build your own custom headers. In our case, we're putting this newer LS type motor into this old street stock chassis. And we're going to take it to the Lone Star 600 and run it. It's an enduro style race, 600 laps. One of the things that I wanted to do was keep the exhaust system above the frame rails. I've drug one off before, and just 600 laps is a lot of laps. A lot of things can go wrong. So anything that we can do to keep it simple. So I just built these real short little headers, and we're going to turn them out right here. Might have to clearance that firewall just a little bit, but that's the reason that I wanted to build my custom headers. You may just want to attempt to build a set of headers for yourself for the pure enjoyment of it, to learn something new, to show people a skill, whatever. There's numerous reasons that you may want to build you a custom set of headers. I started with this header kit, and you know, it's not a bad little design. You can see they kind of have a pattern for you to start with of all the tubes being a similar length. And unfortunately, we kind of went more for making it fit exactly the way we wanted. I know our tubes aren't exactly the same length, but if that's something that you're concerned with, then that's something you can do. Basically, this is the kit that I started with. It comes with all your general bins in it, and then we will chop it up and make them custom. Some tools that you're going to need is something to cut the tubes with, whether that be a grinder and a cutoff wheel, a zip wheel on an air grinder, even just an old Sawzall. I mean, if you had to get down to it, a hacksaw, whatever you have at your disposal. There's a lot of ways to skin this cat. Make it as fun and fancy, cool, however you want to do it. I'll be using this big TIG machine turned way down to weld everything out. You could use a little MIG welder if you wanted. I've seen headers made with baling wire and an oxygen acetylene torch. I'm there again. Use what you have at your disposal. I have this vise up here because when I go to weld all the tubes out and all that stuff, it's really nice to be able to just manipulate stuff around and stay in good position when you're welding. One of the first things we have to do when building these headers is make a little plan. And I already discussed that I wanted it to come over the top of the frame rail or subframe rail as it may be, and turn out. But then we got to look down in there and see exactly how we're going to get that done. Let's try and get you down in here to see where we're at. Maybe this is a better angle, maybe. Okay, there's our exhaust ports that we have to come out of, and then we want to come right down in here between the motor mounts and the frame. The one thing, I do want to make a brace from this A-arm mount over to this motor mount, so I want to clear that also. There's probably some real good ways of measuring stuff, but I'm going to show you about how I'm going to do it. I have this piece of 1/8 inch aluminum TIG rod, and we're just going to form it. I know from the first time we were about 3.5 inches out on this first bend, and the bend isn't near as sharp as that, obviously, but we can use it for angles, and we can run right down there and bend that up like that. That looks pretty good. I'm going to go over and check it with the other side and kind of see if it matches a little bit. So this is a pretty good mate for the other side. Bending this wire like this, and I'm going to make some cuts on the first. I'm going to make some cuts on the front header tube. I'm primarily going to use this cut-off wheel on the cordless grinder to cut everything with. Just simple, easy. Sorry I don't have a better workbench, but part of the theme of this is making do with what you have. I know from doing the last one that we want to cut it off just right at the end of that bend so that we get it in there as tight as we can. This is our header flange side right here. Try and facilitate getting a nice straight bend as I wrap it with masking tape. The wider the better, because it's easier to get a nice straight line around there. I didn't do the greatest job of getting this flat, but it's going inside the exhaust flange. And last time we kind of had to work with some of them anyway, as we cheated them in or out or whatever just a little bit. So I'm just going to leave it for now. I'm going to use this angle and figure out where I want to cut this. It'll save us a cut or two. I want to see where it matches up right with this bend. Mark across it. And I'll cut that, and then we're going to come up here and cut. We'll overlap this, mark it, and cut it where it fits to this wire. I'm going to try to do a little better job of getting a nice straight cut on this. A lot straighter cut right there. Just deburr that just a little bit. You can make all your cuts and deburr it later, but I kind of like to do it as I go along, because I end up packing stuff together and then it doesn't come back apart. And I know deep down that I got burrs down the side there. Marking that on both sides. Put a nice straight line on it again. And depending on how nice you want to keep your stuff, this old race car, you might want to wrap them jaws in a little cloth or rubber or something. We're going to take it over here and give it a little check. We want to get these out closer to the frame so I can feel that I'm going to have to maybe cheat off a little bit of the top of that. This will be the bottom and out more toward the frame. So I'm going to make just a little bit of a miter right there. Also, and grind off a little of the top of this. Fit this up. Just making a little mark for reference, just on how much I want to take off of each side of this. No big gaps on there. One thing, even though these are mandrel bins, the tubing right here is squeezed down just a hair smaller than this. So, and I mitered that very slightly to get a little different angle on it. That's not the way that it's going to exactly fit together either. I'm just showing you. But we're not going to worry about, because it was very, very slight miter, and it'll get us right where we want to be. So we're just going to come up here, check our fit. Again, I feel like I didn't quite check. Hey, maybe. Let's see where we're at here. It's pretty close. I'm going to cut about 6 or 8 inches off the back of this because I just know we don't need it. You're going to see me put a little filler rod on right here. And the reason I'm going to do that is so that I can tack it with one hand and hold it with one hand. I don't have to hold, add filler, and everything all at one time. Obviously need to clean my tungsten. This is what we're getting for right now. Make sure that's at the angle I want. So about right there. And I like it, so I'm going to give it a couple more small tacks up here. I'm going to go clean this tungsten is what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut these tacks later. We're going to weld it all. We're going to buff them back off of here, weld it all from the inside of the flange, and we'll take these tubes apart individually so that we can weld them fully 100%, get them welded out good. So I really don't want a very big tack anywhere. I put 3 on there. 3 will hold, keeps it where it doesn't move.
And that's why my tungstens get dirty. Right there. Get 3 tacks on there, it triangulates it. Okay, the further apart they are or more uniform in 3 opposite sides would be wonderful. We're going to end up cutting that thing off as far back as we can so we can get a 90 out here. So anyway, here we go with number 2.
As I alluded to at the beginning of this video, right now I'm just going to kind of show you the second, third, fourth, just bam, 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 right through there. We're going to skip through a lot of that. If you have any questions, comment below. I'll try and answer them the best that I can.
That doesn't want to sit exactly where I want it to, so I'm going to go back just like I did before, and we'll just put a little dab of filler on there. I'll hold it with one hand, pack it with the other. And I'll try and get a couple more on there. In here you can kind of see, I don't know if I can get where it's cheated, it's back in the flange a little bit, and that's actually flush. It's a little bit of an optical illusion because there's a gap there, but we'll just take care of that when I weld it up. We're gonna go on, be easy to finish these 2 out with it out of the car, make sure everything looks good for going into the collector. We got that tacked in a few places. That's our 3rd tube, and shouldn't need this anymore. Untape it. Everything ought to hang together, and so now we just got to get the last one to lay right in there as tight as we can, so that we can cut it off just as short as we can and put the collector on. got all these tubes in place now. I'm going to take them back out one by one and weld them out, place it right back in row, and then I'm going to cut this thing off just as short as I can to put that collector on there.
I just feel like there's a lot of repetition right here at this point. I take the tubes out one by one, leave the other 3 in. That way I can get the tubes back exactly where they were and line them. If I need to adjust them in my new bit, this is the time to do it. Stuck them back in, welded around the inside of the header flange, and then we're going to come back out and work on getting the collector on it.
Got this deal pretty well welded up. Needs some cleaning up on the flange. We got to put this collector on there, which we can do. Those tubes will flex enough, but I want it all the way. We're going to shorten it up. Like, this tube is super short. One thing in this, there's this hole right here, right? We got to plug that off, otherwise it's going to leak a lot of exhaust. Fortunately, I don't know what I did with it right here. You know, I have the CNC plasma machine, and I cut that out of it. That's going to hold it in a nice little square. We'll weld that in, and I'll show you the rest of the welds I do to kind of help it seal up. I had to grind on that just a little bit. It's not exactly square, but there's enough play in this collector that we'll get it done. So we got that welded in. We really want to take note on how far you weld out. It needs to be quite a ways out. You're gonna have to wrap that weld around and go up. I like to go up about 1 inch, because you've got to reach down in there from the weld on this collector. When you go around, you've got to touch those together or you're gonna have an exhaust leak. That has to be all sealed with weld all the way around, from the outside of that collector down to the inside of this. Otherwise, you're gonna get backfires and whatever. You just want to bring those welds back up there. That's about 1 inch. That one not quite as much. You want to be able to get to it when we put that collector in, so that you can reach down there and connect it all. So I got these clamps on it, and you can see that weld down in there. When I weld around this, I've got to reach down in there and get that. I'll probably weld around the outside of the 4 corners. That'll set it in place. I might even take and try and tap that down with a chisel a little bit, get it closer, and we'll go. The other thing, you want to try and get it straight looking from both directions, you know, or to fit your car, whatever it takes. I got that tied down there. I actually have a chisel that's not super sharp. I'm going to take and try and knock that down into that corner, and then I'll finish out welding down in there. Thing all welded out, and reach down, got a hold of those welds in there. That'll all be sealed up. I'm gonna buff off this flange, bolt it back up. Got to cut this off somewhere, but maybe it's not too long that I can't put it in, and we'll see. We got a hair closer to the A-arm mount down there than I wanted to be, but we'll take care of that. And then right here, that's why I couldn't wrap that one back. These dang spark plugs are pretty close. It's got a gap in there, but it isn't a whole lot. I'm trying to get it where you can see it. Probably have to get creative with flowing that 90 out of there, down and out, but we'll do it. And that'll be for another video. I suggest you use good gaskets on any headers you have, and maybe look up the torque specs and torque them, because gaskets are notorious for leaking on headers.
So if you can alleviate that before you get started, that's all the better. I'd say check your header bolts often, especially, I mean, until you get to a point where you check them 2 or 3 times and they're not moving, and then check them every now and then still. Like I said, they're crazy for backing out. I would think a person would want to get them coated or something. You can paint them with high temp header paint. Maybe it's better nowadays than it used to be. I never had good luck back in the old days. If you can get them ceramic coated, that's the way to go. You could wrap them with header wrap. That'll help keep the heat off of some of the stuff that's around the headers. We'll probably have to wrap ours down there by the starter and try and keep that thing cool. And again, our main thing was just getting these to work, and on here we want to turn them out over the top of the frame where they're not down, where they can get drug off, or we'll hit them on somebody else's fallen parts at the Lone Star 600. Hopefully we get a little power out of it. I don't know, they're pretty short. As you can see here, I definitely don't have the biggest, nicest shop with everything in it, but you know, if you've been thinking about it, jump out there and make you a set of headers. Why not? Don't let anybody on the internet or anything discourage you. You might as well give it a try. Make yourself something cool. You can buy the J-bins and stuff from Day Motorsports. They're one of our people that help us out a lot, and they're local to me here in Tyler. You can get them other places too, and you can get whole header kits. But if you happen to be out here in East Texas, I'd recommend you try and get everything you can from Day Motorsports. Of course, they ship and all that too. So get on the internet and check them out. Last but not least, if it's a street legal car, headers may not be legal in all the states. Disclaimer, right? Thank y'all for watching. Catch you later.